All right, 2 Chronicles 3 and 4, since we have 8 chapters again this week, but once again, let's title them, turn and subtitle them this time, Solomon Began, because this is the chapter, or these are the chapters in which Solomon began to build the temple. And so chapter 3 is primarily going to focus on the structure itself, the dimensions of the temple, the description of the details of the most holy place, and then it's going to give particular attention to the 2 pillars out front. But chapter 4 is going to talk about the fixtures and the utensils, most notably on the outside, the bronze altar where they offered the sacrifices, what they call the sea on the southeast corner, where the priests would wash as they prepared the sacrifices, and then the basins alongside the temple where they would wash the actual sacrifices that they were preparing. But inside the temple, in the holy place, you had golden lampstands, and with them you had tables for showbread with an altar of incense leading up to the most holy place, where you had the place for the Ark of the Covenant underneath the outstretched wings of the cherubim. And so the thing that caught my attention this time was in chapter 3, verse 9, where it talks about the weight of gold for the nails. The nails was 50 shekels. And he overlaid the upper chambers with gold. And it didn't sink in right away, but I pulled a few different translations because I was like, how are you going to drive gold nails in anything? And some of the interpretations were like, okay, they overlaid the heads with gold, but that was still more than 1.5 pounds of gold. Other interpretations didn't cut corners. They were like, no, the nails were gold. And some seemed to make a description that made the nails seem like they were more or less gold plated. Either way, I'll try to link the different translations in the description. But the bottom line for me was attention to detail. See, because if we have a description of a God who cares this much about the nails in the temple being presentable, not simply painted over in gold paint, but actually being treated in some way with gold if they were not gold themselves, then what kind of attention to detail does he have to us? Understanding that Jesus himself said that, look, you are worth more than 2 sparrows, and 2 sparrows don't fall to the ground without God noticing. So if he has that kind of attention to 2 sparrows and the gold on some nails, he cares about the details of you. And why does that matter? Because as we mentioned in different lessons, this place, meaning earth, can be a hard place to find a fit. And so chapters 3 and 4 actually kind of reminded me of chapter 2, understanding that in order to find out how good a fit Solomon had with Hiram, he had to have the courage to open up to Hiram about what was really on his mind. And it takes a lot of work here, because we already mentioned there were people in Solomon's own family he couldn't trust, understanding that not everybody was on the same page about him becoming king. And so he had to understand how to overcome past betrayal enough to open up to a foreigner who would eventually become his close ally. And so catching things like the way in which God pays attention to even seemingly insignificant details like providing gold nails for a temple reminded me that as hard as it can be to find a genuine connection with just one person here, he's preparing a place where we're surrounded by people who fit even the most seemingly insignificant details of who we are, helping us find a natural fit for things we might not even understand about ourselves.